All right, so today it appears we are living in backwards world where Russia is urging the United States to show restraint and to not pick on smaller nations because they could risk us going to World War III and having global conflict with the U.S. versus NATO. And he's saying this is all over Greenland, Russia, that is. And they're saying that the United States should not pick on smaller nations. So today, January 17, 2026, we are living in backwards world. Take a look at the latest headlines so you can see it for yourself. Russia warns Donald Trump that he will trigger the end of the world if he snatches Greenland. Now, this happens as tensions rise between Russia and the West. One Russian official has warned that all-out war could break out if Trump plans to take over Greenland, and he actually goes through with it. He is saying that we're going to be sparking World War III here. Take a look. Now, Donald Trump will cause World War III as the world warns that it'll be the end as we know it, with tensions rising. This actually coming out from Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland. So we have various nations now warning about what is happening as we're seeing things escalate with Greenland. And take a look, breaking news coming out today, actually just a little while ago. NATO members are going to be facing tariffs increasing to 25% until Greenland purchase deal is struck. Trump is saying, I'm going to strike you all with tariffs until I get Greenland. We're going to make a deal, whether you like it or not. And that is why we're actually hearing Russia coming to the table saying, hey, Trump, calm it down. You're going to cause global conflict. Now, while all this is taking place, take a look at this. Zelensky is coming out and saying, hey, Donald Trump, you know how you took down Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela? You think you can do that to Putin? Zelensky is calling for the United States to take down Putin following the capture of the Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. And today is January the 17th, 2026. And like I said, it's like we woke up in backwards world today, where we are hearing that there are warnings urging the United States to calm down, as Donald Trump is saying we need to take Greenland. Now, here's the thing. Let me know your thoughts. He is saying that Russia has an invested interest in Greenland along with China. And that is the reason why they are using this rhetoric saying that the United States is going to cause World War III conflict with NATO, because Trump is saying if we do not take it, he is saying, listen, if the United States does not take full control of Greenland and the Arctic, we are in a bad strategic position, and Russia and China are going to take over it, and they are going to gain the advantage to eventually compromise the United States. So he is saying that this is putting America first, that we need this for security purposes. He is saying it is essential that we do this, and we do it now. And he is saying that he is willing to do it for the safety and security of the United States. Now, if you agree with him and you appreciate what Trump is doing, put USA. If you think that we need to acquire Greenland, you agree with Donald Trump, and he is saying by all means necessary, we need to gain control of it. Now, if you think no, it's not necessary, he needs to calm down, put NATO in the comments, as we're hearing a lot of NATO nations are telling him to stop, to de-escalate. We're actually hearing some troops from NATO, actually France and other nations might be sending their soldiers over there as well. And kind of like Russia said, this could be wrapping up to be a conflict with the United States and NATO in backwards world today. Welcome to the channel, January 17th, 2026. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in, though, get you caught up on the latest. I'm going to be sharing with you the latest headlines. I'm going to put it on the screen, read right from it so you can see the dates, see the sources, know exactly what is unfolding, and know and rest assured that this is the latest coming out. A lot coming out in the last 24 hours surrounding Greenland and the United States. Now, if you appreciate the updates, the transparency, like I said, I'm going to play the latest videos for you. Do me a favor, take a quick second, just a second, before we dive in, hit that thumbs up like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton. I really appreciate it. Also, to stay up to date, if this is your first time here, it's totally free. Why not? Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. And as I mentioned, in addition to the articles that are going to be linked in the description down below, also resources available if you're looking to try to save some money in 2026. Ton of different resources and different ways a lot of people have not been thinking about lately. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get right to it. And let's start off with these articles, and then I'm going to dive into some video footage for you so that way you can see the latest. So let's take a look at this here. Russia warning Donald Trump that he's going to be triggering the end of the world if he snatches up Greenland. Now, this article says a top Russian official has warned of the end of the world if Trump manages to secure Greenland for the United States. It comes as tensions are continuing to rise between Washington and Copenhagen over the future of the island. Now, Trump has been reiterating the need for the U.S. to own Greenland and semi-autonomous region within Denmark for national security reasons. Now, despite some 85% of Greenlanders showing their opposition to being taken over by America, the White House has said that it will look to get the island one way or another. And yes, we're hearing the rhetoric coming out of the United States here. Donald Trump, the Trump administration, is very aggressive, saying we need Greenland. Now, defending his demands, Trump said that if he does not take over Greenland, Russia or China will. So he is saying that the rhetoric coming out of China warning this is because they have alternative motives themselves, that they actually are planning to acquire Greenland. Now, one top Russian official within the government has said that Trump's move should be stopped to avoid an all-out third world war. As reported by Unilad, Dmitry Rogozin, who previously served as a Kremlin deputy prime minister, said that the U.S. is looking to expand its borders. He added that with talk of a Golden Dome missile defense system, having Greenland would pose a threat to Russian security. So now Russia is literally saying the exact same thing Trump is saying if the United States gets Greenland, it is a threat to Russian security, hence then opening the door for Russia to say, we need to control Greenland. He explained that Trump's move is to incorporate Greenland into the Golden Dome system, in which space, AI, and a layered architecture merge into a single system. He added, orbital sensors, ground interceptors, deception-making algorithms. All this requires advantageous geography. Greenland, with its Arctic position, proximity to Russia, and the convenience for northern ICBM trajectories, fits perfectly into this architecture. So they are saying that Greenland is a strategic gold mine. Whoever controls it controls the northern hemisphere. However, Rogozin added that Trump was not acting in an erratic manner, but was instead fulfilling the Pentagon's will to simply seize the territory for itself. Now, regardless of what NATO allies thought, he went on to say, this is the dismantling of the entire system of strategic stability in the world that has prevented the USA of nuclear weapons since 1945. Now, he also offered a chilling warning saying that America, whilst under Trump's leadership, may think that it has the upper hand in all forms of nuclear superiority over Russia and China. Completely disagreeing, he added, this will be the beginning of the end of the world. Now, it also appears that the Arctic will soon become the site of the next major conflict, as arms are rapidly being deployed around the area to stave off any attacks. However, the Russian general added that despite the huge ice cap, submarines can pass through, which could mean the Arctic could be the battlefield for World War III. Now, it comes after frantic talks were held between representatives from the Greenland, Denmark, and the U.S., including Vice President J.D. Vance, coming out after the talks were held on Wednesday, January the 14th. Denmark's ambassador, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, said that the presidency was insistent on owning the island. Tammy, thank you so much for the super chat. I see you. Appreciate that a ton. Now, we didn't manage to change the American position, Rasmussen said. It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering Greenland, and we made it very, very clear that this is not in the interest of the kingdom. So we're hearing that they are saying Greenland is not for sale. Trump is saying, I am assembling a team that will prepare to acquire Greenland. Meanwhile, Britain and other European allies, they are racing to try to stop Trump's potentially disastrous move by helping to safeguard and secure the island as a true NATO hub. So we're hearing that other nations are sending over troops to prepare for potential conflict with Greenland. Warships and troops from the British Army are now being stationed on Greenland as a means to stave off any potential intimidation. Wow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is the United States going to potentially spark a war here over Greenland with NATO, which they're saying could emerge into a global conflict with the U.S. versus NATO? Now, we have been worried about this for several years now with Russia and the conflict going on with Ukraine and them provoking potential fights with NATO nations. Now, the United States, who is actually a member of NATO, getting into a conflict over NATO nations with NATO allies. Take a look. Here's another article that has come out. You can see here. It says Donald Trump will cause World War III as the world warned that it will be the end as we know it. Fears of World War III have reached new heights as Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk warns that the U.S. President Donald Trump's aggressive bid to seize Greenland could trigger catastrophic conflict. You can see this coming out today, January the 17th, 2026. Now, the article says that fears of World War III have been continuously rising in the last few months, but the threats of global conflict are now mounting as Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk and other leaders have reportedly sounded the alarm on U.S. President Donald Trump's aggressive ambitions. Now, seize Greenland, an autonomous Danish territory, could trigger catastrophic conflict among NATO allies and spell the end of the world as we know it, Tusk had reportedly stated. With European troops now stationed in Greenland, Russia threatening nuclear escalation, and Trump insisting the U.S. must control the Arctic island, tensions are currently boiling over. Now, Trump's move, they have triggered a fundamental disagreement among NATO nations, with soldiers from France and Germany already landing on Greenland's frozen shores. Norway and Sweden are also preparing to send troops, ramping up fears of a military standoff in the Arctic. Nevertheless, Tusk is standing firm and reportedly flatly refusing to send Polish troops. He has also been warning that any fighting between NATO members would shatter the alliance. Now, WION News reported an attempt to take over part of a NATO member state by another NATO member state would be a political disaster, Tusk told reporters. Now, it would be the end of the world as we know it, which guaranteed a world based on NATO solidarity, which held back the evil forces associated with communist terror or other forms of aggression, he added. Denmark has reportedly echoed this alarm, warning that any attack on Greenland would spell the end of NATO itself. Now, Russian officials have characterized Trump's renewed efforts to annex Greenland as extraordinary and a violation of international law. Now, while the Kremlin officially maintained that Greenland is Danish territory, its rhetoric often uses the situation to highlight perceived Western double standards and the erosion of the rule-based global order. So Russia coming out here, very ironically, pointing the finger at the United States, saying that they are causing problems in the global order, while Russia also is doing the same thing, and then saying, how can you accuse us when you are committing the potential same crimes? This is the rhetoric we're hearing coming out of Russia. Now, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated on Friday, January the 16th, yesterday, that the situation is unusual and extraordinary from the standpoint of international law. Peskov noted that Trump himself has indicated that international law is not a priority. Moreover, Russian Senator Dmitry Rogozin warned on Saturday, today, January the 17th, that a U.S. annexation of Greenland could lead to the beginning of the end of the world. He claimed that the move is part of a Golden Dome missile defense strategy that is aimed at achieving nuclear superiority over Russia and China. So they are saying the U.S. is doing this for military reasons, and we're hearing that Russia is coming out and saying this is a threat to our security. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, experts have indicated that the U.S. economy would likely face a significant turmoil and that there would be a major recession or depression marked by market panic and trade wars if Trump went ahead and seized Greenland. Additionally, an attack on Denmark, a founding NATO member, would likely trigger the collapse or effect end of the alliance, as the U.S. would become the aggressor against an ally it is sworn to defend. Now, according to experts, the U.S. would be viewed globally as a rogue state, intent on territorial acquisition, abandoning its role as a defender of the rules-based international order. Now, the U.S. would face overwhelming international condemnation, with most nations, including European allies, refusing to recognize the annexation as legal under international law, potentially leading to diplomatic isolation in the UN. Wow. There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, do you think that Donald Trump is going to be able to pull this off? Is the United States going to be acquiring Greenland? Now, we've heard a lot of people say that when Trump says he's going to do something, he does it, and he does it right away. And we had heard that after he captured Maduro from Venezuela, he said in 20 days, you're going to be hearing a lot about Greenland. And here we are. And there's a lot coming up on Greenland right now. And they are saying that he is saying by any means, we must acquire this for the security purposes of the United States. Yes or no? Will the United States be controlling Greenland here very soon, one way or the other? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yes, no, drop it in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, please take a second and hit that like button. Now, we also have breaking news coming out. Take a look at this article here. NATO members are going to be facing tariffs that are going to be increasing to 25% until Greenland purchases a deal, until Greenland purchase deal is struck. So Trump is saying, until I acquire Greenland, until there is some sort of deal, you're all going to be getting hit with tariffs. Now, let's take a look at this here so you can see the latest breaking news coming out. Now, we had heard 25%. I'm also hearing 10%. Trump actually released a Truth Social post just a little while ago, right before I went live. Let's take a look at the update so you can see it for yourself.
Now, this is a fairly lengthy post, but I do want to pull it up for you right now, as we know that President Trump has said that he is going to impose a 10% tariff for those European countries who are opposing U.S. control of Greenland. Now, the post, as I mentioned, fairly lengthy, and it does say, we have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other forms of remuneration. Now, after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is not a thing that Denmark can do about it. They currently have 2 dog sleds as protection, one added recently. Only United States of America under President Donald J. Trump can play in this game, and very successfully at that. Nobody will touch this sacred piece of land, especially since the national security of the United States and the world at large is at stake. On top of everything else, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown. That is a very dangerous situation for the safety, security, and survival of our planet. These countries who are playing this very dangerous game have put a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. Therefore, it is imperative that in order to protect global peace and security, strong measures be taken so that this potentially perilous situation end quickly and without question. Starting on February 1st, all of the above-mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the U.S. On June 1st, the tariff will be increased to 25%. This tariff will be due and payable until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. The United States has been trying to do this transaction for over 150 years. Many presidents have tried, and for good reason, but Denmark has always refused. Again, as I mentioned, a lengthy statement here. Now, because of the Golden Dome and modern-day weapon systems, both offensive and defensive, the need to acquire is especially important. Hundreds of billions of dollars are currently being spent on security programs having to do with the dome, including the possible protection of Canada. And this very brilliant but highly complex system can only work at its maximum potential and efficiency because of angles and bounds. If this land is included in it, the U.S. is immediately open to negotiation with Denmark and or any of these countries that have put so much at risk despite all that we have done for them, including maximum protection over so many decades. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Again, President Trump posting that a short time ago on Truth Social, saying that he will impose a 10% tariff on those 8 European countries for opposing U.S. control of Greenland, and saying that in just a few months, if nothing changes, that will increase to 25%. We are going to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break. On the other side,
there you have it, you guys. So we're hearing that he is going to be imposing the 10% tariffs. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing that if it is not resolved by a certain amount of time, 25% is going to be seen. Let's go ahead and take a look at this so you can see it for yourself. NATO members to face tariffs increasing to 25% until Greenland purchase deal is struck. Now, here are some of the key points. President Donald Trump said 8 NATO members, U.S. imports will face escalating tariffs until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. So again, this is not control. I saw somebody asking this in the comments. This is acquiring. We heard Donald Trump say when you are renting or have a lien on something, it's totally different as opposed to when you completely own it. So he is saying we must own Greenland, part of the United States. The tariffs will start at 10% on February 1st and shoot up to 25% on June 1st, Trump said. The tariffs target Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland, Trump wrote on Truth Social. 8 NATO members' goods sent to the U.S. will face escalating tariffs until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland, President Donald Trump announced on Saturday today, a little while ago. The tariffs targeting Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, Finland will start at 10% February 1st. Trump wrote on Truth Social, the tariffs will shoot up to 25% on June 1st, the president has said. Now, his post suggests that the new tariffs on the European allies were being imposed in response to them moving troops to Greenland. They took that step as the Trump administration had floated utilizing the U.S. military as a part of its ramped-up efforts to acquire the Danish territory. Now, the 8 countries have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown, Trump wrote. This is a very dangerous situation for the safety, security, and survival of our planet. A day earlier, Trump hinted that he may pursue a tariff strategy on Greenland similar to the one that he used to force foreign countries to change their drug prices. I may do that for Greenland, too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security, he said at the White House on Friday yesterday. Trump's latest move puts further strain on NATO, the 32-member military alliance established in the aftermath of World War II. The cornerstone of the alliance is an agreement that an attack on any single member is considered an attack on all of them. European leaders have warned that any attempt by the U.S. to take Greenland by force could spell the end of NATO. Trump's tariff announcement could mean that he is dropping the threat of using the military to achieve his longtime goal of taking over the island. But it nevertheless ratchets up pressure on Denmark and the rest of Europe, which have flatly stated that Greenland is not for sale. Trump is an enthusiastic fan of using tariffs as a tool for gaining political leverage over other countries. He has greatly expanded the government's use of these levies over the past year, in large part through the unusual invocation of a law granting the president some powers in an economic emergency. Now, the Supreme Court could rule as soon as next week on whether to strike down the tariffs imposed under that law. Now, this is breaking news. This article says, please refresh for updates. And as I mentioned, this just coming out today, just a little while ago, this is the breaking news coming out, that he is moving forward on Greenland, imposing these tariffs on other nations, saying, you must do this. America needs to acquire this. Now, let's take a look at some more updates on this as it's starting to spread all across the news media headlines. We're hearing Russia is warning the United States that they could be starting a global conflict in World War III. Let's take a look at the latest so you can see it for yourself.
President Trump escalating his push for the U.S. to control Greenland, now issuing a new threat to allies that stand in his way.
I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security.
For weeks, Trump has been turning up the pressure, saying the U.S. will have Greenland one way or another, a territory long controlled by our NATO ally Denmark. And Trump refuses to rule out military force to get it. Now 6 other NATO countries, including Germany, France, and the UK, surging forces to Greenland in support of Denmark. Both Denmark and Greenland have made it clear Greenland does not want to be under U.S. control. A bipartisan group of senators now in Denmark trying to cool tensions.
There's a lot of rhetoric but there's not a lot of reality in the current discussion in Washington.
All of this just weeks after the U.S. captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and Trump declared the U.S. is running the country. And just one day after Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado gave Trump her Nobel Peace Prize, Trump now lavishing praise on her.
And I was very, very impressed. She's this is a fine woman.
But Trump still isn't backing Machado to lead Venezuela, even though her party is credited with winning the last election in a landslide. Instead, he's embracing Delcy Rodriguez, the acting president who is Maduro's loyal number 2. Machado blasting Rodriguez.
She's a communist. She's the main ally and representation of the Russian regime, the Chinese and the Iranians.
The White House says President Trump hopes there will one day be elections in Venezuela, but they aren't putting any timeline on it. Despite that wit, Machado says she has no doubt that President Trump supports democracy and the mandate of the people of Venezuela.
So there you have it. So in addition to all the stuff going on with Greenland, we have Venezuela, and also I'm keeping you up to date on Iran, and there is more news coming out on Iran today as well. But let's take a look at the breaking news coming out, more on Greenland. As we're hearing, this is a polar competition. Whoever controls Greenland, they're saying, controls the Arctic, which is a strategic position for the largest nations in the world. And the United States, Trump warning, if we do not control Greenland, Russia and China will be after it. We need to acquire it now before they take control. Let's go ahead and take a look at more updates.
As the nations of Europe come together and pretend to defend Greenland with 34 people and a couple of dog sleds, President Trump is making it clear that Greenland is a vital part of U.S. national security. Take a look.
And I may do that for Greenland, too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that. I'll give you a little, I'll take you out of the, in fact, that'll end up being the story. But actually, this is a much bigger story because we're reducing healthcare by numbers that you haven't seen. NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security, especially when it comes to what we're doing in terms of the Golden Dome and all of the other things. We have a lot of investments in military. We have got the strongest military in the world, and it's only getting stronger.
All right, here with more, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Homeland Security Advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller, is with us. The president's right. It is vital. The president's also right that China and Russia have interest in Greenland. Denmark has not particularly treated the people of Greenland well. It could be one of the wealthiest nations, according to everything I've read, in terms of their natural resources that are not being tapped into. Looks to me like Donald Trump's about to make the art of the deal real for Greenland.
Well, you said it, Sean. Greenland is essential for America's national security. The new domain of international competition is going to be polar competition. That is where more and more resources are being spent by our nation's adversaries and rivals, is the ability to control movement, navigation, lanes of travel in the polar and Arctic regions. Greenland is 25% larger than Alaska. Greenland is the size of 1/4 of the continental United States. With respect to Denmark, Denmark is a tiny country with a tiny economy and a tiny military. They cannot defend Greenland. They cannot control the territory of Greenland. Under every understanding of law that has existed about territorial control for 500 years, to control a territory, you have to be able to defend a territory, improve a territory, inhabit a territory. Denmark has failed on every single one of these tests. So they want us to spend hundreds of billions of dollars defending a territory for them that is 25% bigger than Alaska at 100% American expense. But they say, while we do this, it belongs 100% to Denmark. It's a raw deal. It's an unfair deal. And most importantly, it's unfair to the American taxpayer, who have subsidized all of Europe's defense for generations now. American dollars, American treasure, American blood, American ingenuity is what keeps Europe safe and the free world safe. And Donald Trump's insisting that we be respected, Sean.
Well, I heard the meeting with Secretary of State Rubio. Does that mean they're open to having that discussion and I think making the right decision partnering with us?
Well, there were positive early talks. We don't want to get ahead of the process, but President Trump has been clear in saying that he wants the United States to control Greenland. That is the American position. And you would think that our allies in NATO, again, who we keep safe with our missile shield, our nuclear shield, with our special forces, our troops, our soldiers, our intelligence, our submarines. Again, American tax dollars are keeping Europe safe and free from every adversary in the world. You would think that they would want to support America in this matter. And I hope they do, Sean. And President Trump is finally standing up for America and the world. You see it in the Western Hemisphere. You see it all around the planet.
Do you agree with him that President Trump is currently standing up for America? He's saying it's good to have a president that's going to be putting America first. And he's saying that this is something we need to do because if the United States does not control Greenland, Russia, and China, they're going to be controlling it. And that is going to be a major security issue for the United States. If you agree, drop a 47 in the comments for support for Donald Trump. And as he's bringing this up, saying that this is something that must be done. And he is aggressively pursuing this right now. Now let's take a look at some more video footage that's coming out in the last 24 hours as well, as things have ramped up today, January the 17th, 2026.
So European troops are in Greenland for a 2-day training mission after the White House met with Danish and Greenland officials this week.
The Vice President and the Secretary of State were present for that meeting. In that meeting, the two sides agreed to really establish a working group of individuals who will continue to have technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland. Those talks will take place, I'm told, every 2 to 3 weeks, but the President has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that. I don't think troops in Europe impact the President's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all.
Louisiana Governor, Special Envoy to Greenland, Jeff Landry joins us now. Governor, what was accomplished, were you told? What was accomplished in those talks, were you told?
Look, I think they finally are having a serious discussion about what a association or cooperation or a relationship, a better relationship with Greenland looks like. I mean, again, the president is serious about reinforcing the Monroe Doctrine. This is something that should have happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we'd been having this discussion. It had been a bipartisan position. Nobody would be complaining. They would say that the president is doing a great job to secure our homeland. Now, because it's President Trump, you know, they just want to complain about it. This is an unbelievable deal. Anyone on the East Coast, Brian, should be concerned about this. The Chinese have built more icebreakers in 1 year than the United States has built in the history of the country. They're not building those icebreakers for fun. They're building them in order to be able to gain control of the Arctic. And the president knows that. And look, this is public knowledge. And so if you're on the East Coast, you want a stronger presence in Greenland.
So, Governor, the French sent 13 people, the Germans sent 15 people. They want to show a resolve to stand behind Denmark, who runs Greenland. Since we notice they have oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, and well, perfectly located to expand our Golden Dome system, do you think there's a deal to be done there? It seems as though we've gotten their attention. They're concerned about us just taking it. So do you think that there might be a sweet spot?
This is a president who masters deal making. And so, yes, I do believe that there's a deal that should and will be made once this plays out.
So when you see the fact that everyone seems so exercised by this, do you feel as though that makes the president dig in more, or does it make him want to come to the table?
Look, I think that the president is serious. I think he's laid the markers down. He's told Denmark what he's looking for. And now it's a matter of having Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance make a deal.
Space Command is there. We have not really done much with those bases. And then they have not even explored rare earth minerals. Denmark has not done nothing. Greenland doesn't seem curious. So when you have a recent poll that shows that, and we can put that up, that only 25% of the American people favor it. Maybe they don't understand strategically what the benefits are, and 75% oppose. It seems to me that very few would oppose us expanding massive look into their rare earth or expanding the Golden Dome or the missile defense.
Well, Brian, if you lived in New England, and certainly again on the East Coast, remember that Greenland is halfway between Russia and Washington, D.C. And of course, you never appreciate keeping the wolf or the bear from your door until they're knocking on it.
Woody, Governor, are you going to go? Are you going to go check this out? Are you going to meet with officials?
Absolutely. Look, I think it's a great opportunity for Louisiana. I think it's a great opportunity for America. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for Greenlanders to really expand their economy and join one of the most advanced and the strongest economies in the world. So there's a lot to do there. Look, again, I'm looking forward to a trip to go watch the greatest dog sled race in Greenland.
Oh, yeah. So you're going in March, right?
That's what the plan is.
All right. So the governor of Louisiana is going to be watching a dog sled race in Greenland. Never thought you'd be doing that, but you certainly are. Governor, thanks so much. We'll see what...
There you have it, you guys. Now, also, you heard them mention the Golden Dome. They're saying that this is imperative to that as well, to make sure that the United States is protected. Do you think that we should have that Golden Dome? If you think so, put yes in the comments. Donald Trump is saying we need to have a missile protection system over the United States, keeping the people of America safe. And he is saying that Greenland is going to be a major part of that, saying we must have that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, in addition to that, speaking of the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, and Russia telling the United States to, hey, calm down, back off of Greenland. Trump saying it's because Russia has their own interests in Greenland. But take a look at this coming out as well. Zelensky calls for the United States to take down Putin following the capture of the Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. He is saying, hey, why don't you take out Putin the same way you did Maduro? Now, this is coming out a little while ago, but starting to get more traction. Take a look. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called for the United States to detain Russian President Vladimir Putin after U.S. forces captured ousted Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro in an overnight operation. And let me know your thoughts. Should the United States go after Putin that same way? Now, Zelensky didn't hold back when pressed about the U.S. toppling Maduro's regime after President Donald Trump ordered airstrikes on military sites around the Venezuelan capital of Caracas early Saturday morning. How should I react to this? What can I say? The Ukrainian leader told reporters after meeting with European national security advisors on Saturday. If it is possible to deal with dictators this way, then the U.S. knows what to do next, he added, suggesting that Trump should handle Putin the same way as Russia continues its attacks on Ukraine 3 years after invading the war-torn country. Now, Russia was among several nations Saturday that demanded that the Trump administration release Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, after they were captured from their homes in the South American country. Now, in view of the confirmed reports about Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his spouse being in the United States, we strongly urge the U.S. leadership to reconsider their position and release the legitimately elected president of a sovereign country, and his spouse, Russian foreign minister, has said. Now, we highlight the need to create conditions for resolving any existing issues between the United States and Venezuela through dialogue. Now, the couple arrived in New York City Saturday night to face federal narco-terrorism charges. Trump said the couple will face the full wrath of the American justice. Maduro and Flores will be held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, sources have said, and they are expected to appear in federal court early on Monday. And again, this was a couple weeks ago. Let me know your thoughts as we're hearing Zelensky saying, hey, why don't you handle other dictators like that as well? And we're hearing right now things are escalating with the United States, with Greenland, Russia coming out and warning that the U.S. is going to spark World War III between the U.S. and NATO alliance members. And let me know your thoughts on this. We've heard a lot of people here on the channel, we've heard a lot of people recently talking about how Donald Trump, actually here on the channel, a lot of people, I see it in the comments, have heard this. Donald Trump is saying, hey, like, I am NATO. Like, we make up the alliance. So we bear the majority of the burden. And that is why also he's doing all of these tariffs and stuff, saying, hey, it is unfair the way that we distribute and we take care of all the other nations. We might pull out of the alliance. Same thing with the United Nations. He's saying we might pull out of all of this. We really don't need you as much as you need us. And now that the United States has demands, you suddenly are upset. He said it's not fair, and we're going to put America first finally. This is some of the rhetoric that we're hearing coming out of the Trump administration, and Donald Trump saying, listen, these are the things that we need to make sure that the people of America are safe and protected. And look at the capabilities that we have. Look at the way that we came in and we took out a dictator from Venezuela. Maduro captured him. There's reports coming out that we use technologies that have never even been seen before or never used before in combat. Man, some pretty intense stuff. Let me know if you appreciate the way Donald Trump has been handling all of this and you agree with him. Drop those 47s in the comments. And also do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. Now, I'm expecting there is going to be a lot more information coming out here on Greenland as Donald Trump has made this breaking news announcement that he's going to be imposing tariffs until a deal is struck. So as the news rolls out, we see this breaking news today. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. We're going to be seeing how other nations respond, what Trump has to say. I'll be sure to report it to you here on the channel right away. So if you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell so you're notified as soon as I go live with breaking news. Hit the thumbs up like button. All these articles are going to be linked down in the description below. And also new chapters on the audio Bible that my wife and I are releasing on the Holy Bible KJV, Steve Ram, Monica Ram channel. Check it out. We're almost through the entire book of Genesis. It's going to be available in audio. So the voice that brings you the news, also bringing you the Bible. Check it out if you're interested. It's pinned in the comments below. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll keep you up to speed. Catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.